Okay, everybody, so today we're going to be repairing this LG K51 screen badly damaged. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and power it on just to see exactly how damaged it is. As you can see, it's got a lot of distortion on the screen, so we're going to go ahead and start off by removing the back. Now, majority of the time you can take this off with just a little bit of heat. As long as you have something thin to pry with, you go ahead, just heat that up a bit. Gently along the edges of the back. Don't stick your tool all the way in. You don't want to damage any of the components inside, so just go along the edge fully around the back. That way the adhesive comes off completely. So just go ahead and do that. And then once the adhesive is off, just be careful with the ribbon cable right there for the fingerprint. We're just going to go ahead and disconnect that right now. Alright, and once you have the back off, just go ahead and start off by removing all the screws. Be sure that there's none left over. That way you're able to go ahead and take the frame off. Alright, and once you go ahead and take off all the screws, get your pry tool, go around the edge of the frame, gently pry up a little bit just to get that part loose. Right there, we're going to go ahead, we've already removed the loudspeaker, and then we're just going to work our way on the top. And then once that is off, we're exposed to all electronics inside. Go ahead, start off by disconnecting the battery. Next is going to be the charging port and the LCD. Be sure to remove any SIM cards, SD cards that you might have, and remove the tray as well. That way it doesn't obstruct your way of getting the board out. Alright, and once that's out, you're able to go ahead. Just be sure to disconnect this antenna right here. You can use a pair of tweezers, disconnect it. Now the board that we're taking off here is for the charging port. Just pry on that gently and then you'll be able to loosen it up. And next we're going to go ahead and take out the main board. Be sure to disconnect any of the cameras that are connected, whether it be the front facing camera or the back facing cameras, just so you're able to take out the board a little bit more easier. Alright, and next we're going to go ahead and take off all the smaller components. As you can see here, most of the components are already on the new screen, so you're just going to have to move just some of the older components as well as the battery. So we're just going to go ahead, heat it up for a bit. You could do this with any, household, hair dryer. If you have it set to like a low heat, you can go ahead, just heat it up substantial amount of time so that way the glue is perfectly loosened up. And we're going to go ahead and remove the ear speaker here. Gently pry up on it just so you don't mess it up. They do tend to come a little bit looser most of the time, so just be very careful with that. Next, we're going to move on to our vibrator sensor. And as you can see here, we're going to go ahead and just pry out the volume buttons here. Alright, and with the buttons already gone, we go ahead and just gently pry up on the volume buttons connector right here. Alright, just be sure to set all your smaller components somewhere. Alright, now right here, gently with the pair of tweezers, be sure to take out the ribbon cable that's going to contain your power button and your two volume buttons, your volume up and your volume down button. And go ahead, gently lift up and set that aside. Gonna go ahead, set that back on the heating pad just so it could heat up a little bit more. And we're going to be removing the battery. When removing the battery, take extreme caution. Don't pry up on it too much. You don't want to damage it. So just be sure to get the very edge of it and then just pry up on it gently. You could use anything, playing cards, you know, anything to pry up on the battery just so you can go ahead and separate it from the glue that's holding it down to the frame. Now these types of repairs are, you know, very common for any kind of phone. You know, all phone screens break. We work on, you know, every model. It doesn't matter if it's an LG, Samsung, if it's an iPhone. If you have any questions, you know, you go ahead and feel free to call us. Like I said, we work on, you know, all the models. So if you ever, you know, have a phone that breaks, feel free to bring it in. We'll go ahead, help you out as best as we can. And now here on the new screen, we're just going to go ahead, take off this blue plastic that's covering up the adhesive. And we're going to go ahead and set our old components back within the new frame. And now we're just going to go ahead and set everything back the way that it was. Be sure that you place everything back correctly in the way that you took it out, where it's supposed to go. Because if you don't, then something is not going to add up when you turn the phone back on. It may not be functioning the same way that it was before you took it out. So just be sure that you remember exactly where it was and how it went. And here we're just going to be going back and setting in our main board. Be sure that when you apply the main board back, there are going to be a couple of clips that hold it down. Just be sure to hear a little click, and that's how you know that you've set it, into the frame perfectly. Now, these kinds of repairs do require a little bit of experience. Not anybody can do them. Here at the stores, we have about 7 years of experience. We have 3 different locations where these repairs are done in-house or in-store in these cases. Fairly simple repairs. Usually the repairs are about 20 to 30 minutes. And like I said, we have 3 locations. They're all done in-store. Okay, and here we're just going to go ahead and put the frame back on. Be sure that everything is lined up properly. Starting from the bottom, making our way up to the top. And just go ahead and start by putting back all these screws where they were at. Alright, and once that's done, be sure to reinstall any of the SD cards or SIM cards that you might have. Just go ahead, slide the SIM tray back in, go ahead and power on the phone so that way you can go ahead and take a good look at it. Alright, and just to finish up here, we're going to go ahead and take the back plate. Just go ahead, clean up any of the excess adhesive that's on the back, just so we can go ahead and apply some new adhesive onto there. Okay, and what we're doing here is we're just putting back the fingerprint scanner. Sometimes removing the fingerprint scanner from the back of the panel makes it a little bit more easier, just so you can go ahead and reinstall the back. And that way you don't have to struggle with having to connect it and having the phone open at the same time. And then along the edges here, we're just going to go ahead and add some adhesive. Alright, and just be sure that your fingerprint scanner lines up perfectly with the hole where it's supposed to go. Just press all of that down, and just be sure to test everything out before you fully close it out as well. Alright, and that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, or feel free to give us a call.